My name is Arjun Fulp, and I'm here with Ari Doggin. We are presenting our final project for database design. For our final project, we created a database application designed to store inventory for a small coffee shop. With that, Ari is going to go through the workflow for our database application, as well as the general design for the database. Then I'll go through what the user is actually interacting with, as well as seeing all the data being manipulated, created, and updated within the MySQL workbench. So Ari, take it away.
Thank you. Our database application has four primary functions. It either adds, views, updates, or deletes inventory. When the user interacts with the application, the workflows like this. The user enters their username and password. They either do one of the functions, the primary functions that I just mentioned, and then they're given the option whether or not to continue. In terms of the primary functions, for adding inventory, a shipment gets received from the supplier. The application is used to specify the product attributes, whether it's of the three product types, and then whatever products have been shipped gets logged into the database. For viewing inventory, the user opens the software, specifies the product type, and then the attributes get displayed for the user to analyze. For updating inventory, the user opens the software. The user specifies the entity type. For us, there's actually four types of updates. Three of them are for product types and switching and changing the amounts and anything else that needs to be updated. And also, we update our shelves, whether or not they are empty and stored. The user analyzes those attributes, and then they can update the attributes, as I said before. For deleting, the user does the same thing, opens the software, specifies what needs to be changed, analyzes what needs to be changed, and then they can delete it from the table. As for our data structure, we have 7 main entities. We have products, the 3 product types, coffee beans, cold brew kegs, and cold brew cans. We have the supplier that supplies the products, the shelves where the products are stored, and the warehouse where all the shelves are contained. For product, there's 3 main attributes. It's foreign key, which is the product ID, which represents the product ID of the 3 product types, the type, and then the origin, where it's coming from, whether it's from Uganda, Cameroon, or Ethiopia. As for the products, coffee beans has its ID, its origin, its roast level, the amount of that product. Cold brew kegs are the same, but it also has what coffee bean is used to make it. Same with cans, but we also added flavor attribute. For shelves, it has the ID, the product that is inside of it, the warehouse it resides in, the row and column of the shelf, and whether or not it is empty. And as for the warehouse, it has an address and a name, and the supplier has a name and a location.
So on the left here, we have the terminal window where the application will be running. And on the right here, we have our SQL database itself. So you can see the 7 tables here, which we'll actually bring up to show as we go along and manipulate the data. So we'll go ahead and start the program. We'll enter our username as well as our password. So here we get the introduction, but the core part of the application is being able to do 5 things: either create data, read data, update data, or delete data, but we can also exit out of the program if need be. So to start off, we'll go through with creating. So type create. Now there's 5 different tables that we can actually create data in. We'll go ahead and just start off with coffee beans. So go ahead and type coffee beans. Now, as I already said before, there's one of 3 origins. We'll go with Uganda. We'll go with a roast level. We'll go with dark. And we'll go with the amount in pounds. So let's just say 26. Now, before we insert that, we'll go over here to coffee beans and actually look at the table and see what's in there. So we can see this is what's here. There's 5 items. So we'll go ahead and hit enter. And we'll check back and see what happened. And now you can see 6. So we just added another item, and that's from here. We can also actually read the data that's in the database. So if we go here, type read, we can select any of the tables that are actually within the database. So we'll go ahead and read coffee beans once again, and you can see that the data matches up with what's actually in the database. From there, we can also update. So we'll update our data. Let's say we wanted to update cold brew cans. In order to do that, we need to know what actual items we want to update, and that's where the product ID, that primary key for each one of these products, comes into play. So here we are shown all the products that are cold brew cans that are within our database. And we'll go ahead and hit that first one, so 30,002. Now, here's where some events and triggers actually come into play. So we can add or subtract data for that specific product. And let's say we're going to subtract 16 pounds, but there's 12 pounds in there. What that's going to do is actually bring the total amount to below 0. Now, we wanted a trigger to occur so that whenever an update occurs and causes the amount to dip below 0 or to 0, that product gets deleted. We ran into a problem and an issue with deadlock, where it wouldn't allow both of those operations to occur right after each other. Instead, what we had to do was create an event and a trigger. So the trigger occurs where anything below 0 just gets set to 0 for that product amount. So we'll see when we update that, we can read that table. And rather than that first product being taken to negative, it just goes right to 0. Now, within a minute, we'll go back there and we have an event running. Every single minute, it checks for anything at 0 and it gets rid of that data. So while we wait for that, we'll go on to the last operation, which is delete. So we'll go into the cold brew tags, and similar to the update, we need to know what product ID we want to delete. So we'll go with that second one there, 20,002. And if we read that, you can see it's gone from that table. We can even go and check here and see that there's only one there. But now if we go back and read the cold brew cans where we're waiting for that event to go off, you can see there's only one item there, and we'll go here as well. So that's the trigger setting it to 0, and then the event going every single minute to delete the data from it itself. Now that we're done, we can actually exit out of the program. Everything is committed, everything is written to our database, and we're all set and squared away. So overall, that was our final project for database design and inventory management system.